I hope you can see the slide now, the correct one. And today we will be discussing about in this session, the zero code business process using Microsoft Form, Power Automate, and SharePoint. Before that, my name is Adnan Amin, and I'm a Microsoft. That means I'm also producing the event, so it's. So my name is Adnan Amin, and I'm having 16 years of experience of working on Microsoft technologies with core expertise on the SharePoint side of the house and Microsoft Teams, Power Automate. I have a developer background, so I started career as a developer, and I'm also a Microsoft MVP for Office apps and services since 2005, from 2015, and I'm also a Microsoft certified trainer since 2009. And I'm also a public speaker on different tech events. You can reach out to me on my Twitter, on my blog, or on our Facebook pages for MS Tech Talk. I'm also managing MS Tech Talk, so you might have heard about it. Let's jump into the topic, the agenda, which we will be discussing today. I will share the overview of this topic, that how we are going to do and what is the background for this session. And then I will give a quick overview about Microsoft Forms, Power Automate, SharePoint this. And then we will walk through the creating a form and integrating a Power Automate to submit data to SharePoint list. So the overview about that, what is this topic about? What happens when we are working on the on some input form from the users? There are requirements that that end user wants to build up a form quickly, like surveys or quizzes for getting the information from their team members or external users. So it's easy to build up a quick form on using Microsoft Forms. So you might have seen that. If you have an experience, I will also give you a quick overview later on the session. And but when the data is submitted, all the data is saved within the form in an Excel file. In the form also show a very rich reports based on the data, like that what type of information have been saved. It show quite attractive graphs, but that's all in an Excel file, and you need to export data for running other operations. And what we are going to do in this session, that we will create the form and will submit all the data submitted on the form to a SharePoint list. We can also submit data directly to a SharePoint list, but it's not a user-friendly interface, and user will need permissions for SharePoint list. And I have seen the requirement that user do not want to share the backend list with the end user. And the requirement, the scenario which I'm discussing, that it's not necessary that we have a SharePoint list in the background, but this could be a SQL data table, or any other external data source which we will use to submit data. And the major part would be with the business possible, the Power Automate, which will be used to submit, taking the input from the Microsoft Form and submitting it to the SharePoint list. And one more thing, we will also use the Power Automate. We can perform several other actions, that we are executing some business process based on the input data on different scenarios, whatever, and how what action need to be taken, like sending emails to some users, or requesting or requesting any department to perform any task based on the input data. So we will see how it can be done easily without using any code at the end, because in past we need to write some business applications to perform such tasks. But here we will discuss that how quickly we can do it in this half-hour session. So Microsoft Forms. Microsoft Form is an online survey used to create surveys or quizzes. It's parts of Microsoft 365. I'll also come with you if you have a live account. You can also see it through your live account. It was released by Microsoft in 2016. Form allows to create user quizzes and with automatic marking, and it collects data and show them graphically within Microsoft Forms. And if we discuss about the second topic, which we will be discussing about the SharePoint list, where we will save the data. A list in SharePoint allows you to organize the information dynamically and flexibly. You can create a list from scratch, or you can use ready-made template that are available. In our scenario, we will be using a list from scratch, but I will show you the ready-made templates. Let me turn off my video because so that you can see the full screen. Now, in lists, there's a if we talk about as a collection or document, because the list is a template in SharePoint, which there are two types of content folders in SharePoint. One is called list, and one is called document. Document library. In document library is the area where you save file the document and add some metadata. But list is a tabular structured data where you save data in columns, and it's just we can call it a collection data. And the backend type, both for the document library and list, is item, and that how the data is saved. So technically, it's the containers who save data in form of columns and rows. Once you created a SharePoint related list, you can add the columns to it and also views to display data graphically that dynamically, like grouped by any specific fields. And in SharePoint, when you create a SharePoint list, there are built-in some built-in columns like created by, create date, title. These are the and which are available in every list. And also you can create custom columns. And with modern interface, it allows you to collaborate directly with the team. And also for the modern list, you can create directly from your Microsoft Teams, and you can submit data directly from your Microsoft Teams instead of going to the SharePoint list. And if you are creating your personal list, it will be saved in your OneDrive with your OneDrive. And if I discuss about the security on the list, you can have separate security for each of the lists that you can allow. You can manage user that who could have read access, who could have edit access on the list. And also, if there's a specific items, specific documents where you want to restrict the permissions, you can also do that by changing the permission level of the item level of that specific list item. And if we discuss about Power Automate, formerly known as Flows, and it's available in online tool within Microsoft 365 applications, used for the creation of automated workflow between apps and services to synchronize files, get notifications, and collect data. Once you have created SharePoint related lists, you can add SharePoint columns and create views to display data effectively. Additionally, you can sort, group, format, and filter data to display in things. And with the help of Power Automate, you can submit what I would say that it will not require any code for you to add data, and it's a low code drag and drop opportunity for you guys, that you don't, if you have used Nintex in past, then you will understand it properly. But in the earlier solution was for the workflows in SharePoint was Power Automate, was SharePoint Designer workflows and Visual Studio workflows, where we do not have much to do. But here we can integrate with the third-party components, third-party solutions also. Like if we need to create, and I will give you a quick scenario that you are going to create a user and Active Directory. You can use the Power Automate activities, or if you have a scenario that whenever you're submitting a form, like the thing which we are going to discuss, and it need to create a team and require approval. So when you submit the form, the Power Automate flow will take it to the IT for approval, and once the IT approves it, a team will be created, and all the members which you have listed on your form will be added as members to that form. And you can also delete the team after a specific time using the same Power Automate flow, and this will not require any addition, any custom coding. And one more area is that when we discuss about the Power Automate site, you can send notifications, and also if you can also call REST calls, which are very helpful for integrating with any of the solutions. And if I discuss about the enhanced workflow with AI, like you might have seen that AI builder, which is used to fetch information from forms. So you can also enhance that you fetch that information from the forms, and you can also perform different business actions, activities using Power Automate Flow. Now let's jump into our demo for today, where we will be sharing the details that how creating a form and the Power Automate process and submit data to the SharePoint list. Now we have 15 more minutes, and let's see how quickly we can do it. I already have created the window. So here I am on this window, and let me give you a quick roundabout of that how the things are working. Give me a second. Oh, how to hide this one? Should like this. Okay, let's switch from here. So here is my SharePoint site where I have already created a SharePoint list to save some time. And it's quite easy to create a SharePoint list. And if you do not have any idea, that let me show you the thing which I was discussing earlier. I'm having some issues here. Let me do some. Let me share the window directly because it seems that there while sharing the screen. Now I think it's better now. So here you can see that I'm on a SharePoint site. If I go there, and I'm on SharePoint Online. And one more thing which I want to share, that if you do not have access to SharePoint, what you can do if you do not have access, or you do not have a Microsoft 365 tenant, you can go to developer.microsoft.com and create a free Microsoft Dev tenant, and which is available for 90 days. But if you are continuously using that dev tenant, it can be extended for next 90 days. This is a demo tenant I created using a developer account, and I have been using it for over a year now. So I go to the site content here. Here you can see that it's the new button here. I will create a list here, and these are the new templates, the modern list templates, and these are viewable in your mobile devices, any type of tabs or in modern list. And but our requirement is different from there, and they have pre-built-in lists of columns and also views. So I will also quickly show you few of them. And also you can create a blank list here, and here and in a blank list you need to add the columns manually, each of the columns. If I show you here in this list, that's an issue tracking list. Support tickets. It has some columns, so you can see that some data is already here, and it's a well-formatted list. And these are different views which have been added here. Like if I go to view my ticket or issues group by status, You can see that the issues are grouped by status here. And I'm going to all items now, and now going back to the list which I have created for the this event. So I created a patient information list. It has few columns, and I can quickly add a new column by just clicking at here and can add a column here. It's quite easy here that whether it's a lookup column or whatever type of column, and I can quickly click from directly from here. And I added some of the values here. And if I go to Microsoft Forms here, I'm opening it here, and I will go to the Microsoft Forms. It's really easy to design a new form, and that you can decide and get, like, I'm just changing the name here by info, and you can start adding the fields here, like text field, first name, last name, like this. Okay, I'm not working on this one. I already have created a form here with the patient information. You can see that it only have a few fields, nothing much here on this form. And it have a gender column which have some choice fields, and also have a medical history which is a Boolean variable. Okay, and also a date field. I just added couple of different fields to verify how it will work. And if I want to see the response here on this window, you can see that it's showing a graphical representation for the end users. But the issue is here that all the data is saved within the forms Excel file and the backend, and we can see the details from here, but we can't do any run any process from here. We need to get the data to be submitted to some external source, and here if I go to the sharing option, you have the option to share within your organization, or anyone can respond. If I set it anyone and I share the URL with you, you can also submit data for the form, and you can also share it as a template, or you can also allow other users to collaborate to work with the modify access on the form. And now this is the form. Now we have a SharePoint form. We have a SharePoint list with the similar columns. Column could be different, but we need to do the mapping on the Microsoft Power Automate flow. And if I go to the Power Automate here, I have opened it in the flow. You can see that the URL of the Power Automate flow, and you can directly go from here also. Power Automate, you can click here, and it will open the flow here for you. And from here, you can create a new flow here. And because we are going to create from the scratch, here we have a list of templates available to perform different actions, but we need to use some trigger to start the flow. And here I'm starting a blank flow here and not using a new template. And because it's showing me that the first option for me also, that when a new response is submitted from a Microsoft form. So if you can't see it, you can also search it from the here, that what type of trigger you are looking for. And here you can also see different triggers showing up here, that when an item is created in the SharePoint list. And these are the triggers showing up because I have mostly used these type of triggers. So it's showing me on my page here. I can like it employ. Oh, flow, and we'll create it. I already have created a flow here, but I just want to quickly show you that how will it work. So it will ask me from the what is the patient name, what form you want to select. It's showing me the list of all the forms which are created on this tenant. So I have created like this one, employee info, or I'm selecting this one here. It's an option here. Just want to show you that how will it work. Now the form is fetched. Whenever an information is added to the form, it will be fetched here. Now I will get the details of the form. Let me see what options are. Get response details. Here I will again select the type of the form, and the response detail. The ID is generated from this step here for the form ID. Whatever the information is saved here. And now the next step would be that I need to submit data in the shipping list. I am going to create item activity, searching for the create item. Showing me the SharePoint create item activity here. And here I need to select the URL for the SharePoint list. And it's also showing all the SharePoint lists which are available. I'm just selecting the patient information list here. And now it will show me all the columns here. I need to submit the data for all these columns. Like it's showing me all the details from the form here. For the title, I have changed the name of the. If I show you the list here, this is basically title column because I'm not using any title field here. I just renamed it as first name, then the last name column, and all these columns. So what I'm going to do here, I am going to do add first name here, last name here, date of birth. Okay, it's not taking the date of birth here because it can only because it's coming from the form and all the data is in form. So we need to add a date value, and sometimes we also need to add some formatting here. But we are only taking the date here, and let's do it later. I'm taking the email also. The gender here, I'm adding the gender value from the form, and phone number is also can also be fetched. Now we have few fields which we cannot set, like it's a Boolean variable. If I try to add some value, it's not showing me any field for the Boolean. So what I need to do now, this is a simple form, but we have now we have seen that there could be scenarios like fetching the information from the Active Directory or fetching the information, the date formatting, time, or like these are the two fields in our scenario. But now to fetch the information for these, we need to create variables. So for variable, I'm just going to create. I'm creating a variable here for the history, and we can also rename it here so that because when we have more number of events, it's a better practice to rename all the activities so that you can understand that what's written there. And I'm just setting a default value here. False. And adding a condition here. Control here, condition. If it's true, session history, it's yes. Then what it will do? Oh, I need to set the variable value. Now we only have one variable, so we can easily set it. Because I mentioned that if it's true, then it should be answer should be true for this scenario. So there could be more conditions. You can add multiple conditions here on this one. And now if I go here, just I want to share a quick update here regarding the event that what Java. Just got the message from Java that he will not be available due to some urgent engagement. So I got more 30 more minutes, so I can extend the session for now. And so we will be continuing this session till next 30 minutes. So now what the value which we have selected was for the Boolean field. If I enter the custom value here, scroll down here, it only automatically string with that the Boolean field here. And now for the date of birth, I also need to create a custom variable here. I will initialize variable. I just name it as POV. You can use any specific naming convention for all your variables, and do remember to add the title here also, because that would be helpful. So I'm just setting it's a simple because we have the date field, so I'm just creating it as a string, and because it was an object coming from that form, so it was not expecting it. But if you have any you want to apply any formatting here for the on the date field, you can add the format here using the Excel formulas here. And even if you have some time fields here, because on forms, let me show you one more thing on forms, that like this one. This is the form. We do not have much columns here, much values here, that we cannot perform any specific validations here. And we only have a few type of columns here. Like it's a text field, text choice. If I expand it here, it's going me to add a link cert or a few other fields here. But we do not have a date field or time field. We have a date field, but we do not have a time field, where we can select. So what we need to do, we need to do the choice columns as a drop down, and we can select some of the variables in as a separate field, which you can use for the choice field, or you can use a text field where they can enter the time in specific format. And in flow, you need to fetch that information and need to develop your string. Now I'm going to the item here for DOB. So I have created the flow here, and what I'm going to do that I'm submitting the patient information list on that employee info workflow. But what happened that I already have created another workflow with the same input, so I just will change the list on that workflow also, so that we will not face any issues here. Or I will just stop that workflow from running. This is a workflow. Because when we do not have much time, we already create the workflows here. So we turned off that workflow here. And now I'm going to save over this workflow here. And we haven't done anything here extra. I'm just saving the save button here. Let me do one more thing here, because we got some time. Let's send an email when, or we can also do a approval activity. Send the email. We will use Outlook. Okay, when we are creating one more thing, one important thing which I want to share about the workflows, that we need to, when we are performing any type of activities like submitting data to SharePoint, or fetching information from Microsoft form, or sending an email. So these require separate connectors. Like we need the user will have permission, the user account will have permission on the SharePoint list to submit data, and also user have permission to fetch information from that Microsoft form. and also have permission to send that email. So I'm just sending that email to the current logged in user, demo admin, and now making this a bit. I'm not using the same text as question info. I will just change the name of the title email as employee info, first name and last name. The new here we have the item link. So one more thing that somehow the hyperlink do not work properly as we want to. Like I want to add here link. It do not work like the URL or the component which we insert in the workflow. So I need to change it on this view, the code view. Once I switch to code view, I cannot modify it back to the graphical view. So I'm not making the change. So it will display a URL, but in textual format on the email. Now I'm just adding some of the fields here. First name, last name, email. And we can also add here. Okay, this information is fetched from the form. I think, and these information are fetching from the. You can see that create item activity. So I'm fetching this information from the create item activity. So I'm also fetching the gender from the gender value. So because on the SharePoint side, that the choice column have two type of values: the ID of the field and also the value. So I'm fetching the value here. We'll add the date of birth as a text here. Now I'm sending that email. Also, let's save the flow here. And now if I go to the form here, go to this form and submit some information. Like stream. I'm just giving a random email address here. Date of birth was, let's set it to 2004. Email and phone number. And to verify that condition which we have added, let's select yes here. Now the form is submitted. Let's see our SharePoint list. We also got an email alert. You can see the information is added here on the Alex side, and also here. And if we go to the to the email here, you will see that we got the email from the ticket support. A new employee has been submitted, Alex, and here is the link of the and here's the link of the email address. And if we go back to the ticket support is basically the email account which is submitting the email. So that's why it just share that the account which I have set up for the Outlook. So that's why it seems that uh, it's showing that in the default account here. So all the information is in the date is there, gender is here, all the information is here. So now what else you can do using, and if I go to the Power Automate form, flow first, my flows, implied flow. So you can also see a flow has been submitted and it's if there's an error, an issue, you can see that it will be either will be in process or it will show running or it will show a failed option here. And if you click on the flow, it will show you a complete graphic implementation that how it's work here. And if you expand any of the condition, you will see all the values here or that what information has been passed. Like here on the flow also you can see that information. So it's easy for you to debug the flow here. And we go back here. These are the connectors which has been used. So you will use a demo account. So here you can see that the connector for the Outlook is the different account here. It's a support. That's why email is coming from this account. And you can change. And here we normally suggest to use the service accounts so that those will be used for the submission of data. And these are the details from the and these are details whenever the anonymous user can submit the form and that backend workflow process you can edit the workflow at any time. Will allow you to run a business process on the form and whatever the conditions, whatever the scenarios just we discussed for creating a team at the runtime after getting approval, and then information could also be saved on the SharePoint list or any other area on your environment to whatever data source you want to select. I use SharePoint for submission data, but you can have your options. And if I go back to I think we have some time. If you have any questions, you can also ask me here, and I will show you. And because we have some time, yesterday we have another event, and there I have presented the approval flow and did some modification on the list. So let me quickly show you that also. And here you can see we have created a support ticket list here, issue tracker list here. And this is using the issue tracking list template here. And we have added a list workflow on selected item for this one. And this can be added to, we directly created it from the period workflow and use the third template here that whenever this item is selected and we can we have created a select item workflow from for the list item. Let me go back here. And whenever I select a list item, you can see that it's showing me option to start that workflow. That my crystal discovery series approval workflow which I have created yesterday. And here you can see these are the two dynamic columns which I want to show you here. Let's first jump into the workflow because we have 15 more minutes for this session. I'm also taking an eye on the chat or if there's any question. So if I open this workflow, you can see that there are the history of the workflow here. And it's a pre-built-in workflow. It when an item is selected, it asking this, asking to take some input from the user that what is the request and who would be the approver for the workflow and what would be the reminder or if you want to add a reminder that if the workflow is not approved, how much time it will require. These are optional fields. And these are the reminder values in weeks or days or hours, and also the further reminder email. And here we are getting it's a get item variable. It's taking the site URL and issue tracker list. So when you create a workflow from the SharePoint list item, you do not need to fill these information. It automatically gets filled for the get item because I am using a template here. So it pre-filled information. Otherwise, the way we fill the information, we need to set those values. And this ID is getting is coming up from the selected item value from this one, from this task, because this is the trigger for this workflow. And it's performing some actions on creating some variables on any action. And if I expand this one, create approval, it also has sending an email activity or some details for the approval. And it's a very random variables here. And here there are two branches here. One is stuck here for the approval here for the user. And if it's got approved, then it will process further. Otherwise, another value is here for the reminder. So if the reminder is value get true, it will send an email and will add a delay here for the next reminder. This is the pre-built-in template here, and at the end it's checking that if the value is approved or reject. What it is doing that it it's sending the email if it's rejected, or also same with the approval. What I have done, I did some customization here on that list, that I have added two columns here. That one is for the approval comments, whatever the comments that approval has sent, those will be shown here, and also same for the uh, uh, in case of rejection. And let me show you quickly that what I have done here. It's an update activity which I have added, and just edit the mandatory fields and edit approval output here, and set the if it's approved, then I change the status to complete, and in this scenario I change the status to rejected. And let me quickly add a value here, and let's see that how the workflow is working. Laptop. I hope it's not boring for you guys. I'm assigning this to Alex, the company member here, because it's a issue tracking list, so it then from the columns are from the pre-built-in template here. But this could be a multi-purpose list. I'm not adding the rest of the items here. I'm saving it. So you know that the workflow is on the approval list. So I am here. Now, one thing you might have noticed that it's showing I added a custom column, did some formatting that is showing me the way to start the workflow is that you need to select the item and you need to go here and start the workflow manually. So I did some customization here that to start the workflow directly from the selected list item by just clicking on the button on the list item directly. So and here you can see a different text is added here, and this column is not showing any text. So I will also explain you few minutes that how I did this thing, this formatting on the list. I just clicked here and it directly opened the workflow button to start. And I'm adding Alex here. So here is the approval for the, he will get the email for the approval. And if I want to add some reminder, I can add a day here or a few hours here. I'm also adding some information. I'm running the flow now. An email will be sent to the to Alex. Let me share the Alex screen. If I open Alex in a separate window, quickly share the screen to the Alex. I hope you can see the screen here. So here Alex got the email here, and here's the new item, the link for the request. If I click on the request here, it will show the button here, the details of the list item here. And if I go here, and I can approve directly or approve or reject directly from here. Like I'm going to approve it, approve. And there could be multiple approvals also. If anyone rejects some because of this template, the work in a way that if anyone rejects, it will be rejected for all of them. Now I have submitted the request here. And now the request is approved over the email. This is an actionable adaptive card, which is used in the email here. And now if I go to the list here, I will refresh the list. You can see that it added the comments here that it's not readable properly, but we can change the formatting using the flow also. That approve, the user has approved. If I go to the email of this user who submitted the request, the user will also get an email in this format. Alex Weber approved, and this is the response approved, and these are the comments from the user. Now I'm going back to the workflow here to the flow here. So I added another column for approval request, so that user will get the option to start the flow directly from the row instead of going to a 3-step process like selecting the flow and going to the clicking on that button, and also from here going more from here and going to the automate and starting the flow. It's a bit lengthy process, and they need to select the item also. So what I have done, if I go to the column settings and format this one, I have added a built-in JSON which is available from the Microsoft for starting a flow. I added a JSON here and added the GUID of the flow, which will execute it. So here for this list, I haven't started the change the UID. It's showing me the UID of an old flow, but I haven't started from here. So it's working. And if you see here that I added a button here, the display setting of the item. So if display is completed, it set it to none, and also change the value of the text field on the item. That if it's rejected, then restart approval will be shown on the front. Otherwise, it will show the default start approval. And check. Yeah, it's already opened here. That you can see that it's schema available for the create JSON, create a button to launch a flow. So I copied all the schema from here from this screen and just change the value, this value, and this will and with my flow ID. And how you get your flow ID? If you go to your flow here, and you will see that ID at the end here. This is your flow ID. It could be short string for you, but on your flow you can check that the UID will be at the end of your flow. and you can save the changes on the page, and it will be shown. Running back to the presentation here. So now what we walk through today, that we went through the process of creating a form, then a SharePoint list, and then use the Power Automate flow for submitting data from form to SharePoint list. And we also went through an approval process for SharePoint for SharePoint, where we have we added a approval process to actually send submitting data to the SharePoint list, and also did some formatting, get info about some formatting on the SharePoint list for that flow button piece. Thank you so much.